Well, I meant more the voice.
But he was an SEC quarterback.
Wow.
And then he played 14 years in the NFL.
Wow.
And then when his time was up, he became a radio guy.
Does he have like body aches? Does his whole body hurt him from playing football?
I'm sure it does. I watched him get beat up by Warren Sapp. I don't know if you know who that is.
I do not.
He's big.
Okay.
Okay. And it was a 10 below weather day. 10 below. He played for Chicago Bears.
Oh.
And so, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you get hit a few times in that situation.
I know.
You know, they can't be good.
I know. We have all the pro football players, old retired pro football players around here. I wonder if I've always wondered if they ache and hurt. If I ever see one in public, I'm going to ask them, do your knees hurt you?
The person that should hurt the most is Archie Manning. He never had a winning season and has a piece of his body left all on every football field.
Really? Because they get slammed down.
The Saints back then, you wore bags over your head, you know?
Oh, yeah, the Aints. I remember that. When I lived on the Gulf Coast, they were the Aints. It was a
Saints,
labor of love.
You watched Archie and you just felt sorry for him.
Yeah.
But, that's just that.
Well, Archie wasn't at the Saints when I was there, but we still called them the Aints.
Oh, okay. So you were the Bobby Abear years. But anyway.
Yes.
And the John Forcade years.
89 to 2005. That's when I was down there.
I didn't keep up with that much.
But
anyway. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. I was going to say we can't talk about how beautiful of a day it is. We don't know yet. Although it is going to be a beautiful day, but it is.
And I, of course, am Chip Matthews. She is Taylor Turcotte, and this is, I guess, Chip Matthews' show, sitting in on Matt Bishop's show, which will become our show, is what I understand. But we'll wait and see.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm ready to get back.
And then,
on
of course, we're on again at
9:00
if you would like to be warned to where you can tune out at that time. Okay, so we're going to get together and we're going to start figuring out what goes on every day in the world that you need to be a part of.
Locally, yes.
Yeah, locally. This is one of the things we're going to do, and we're going to want you to make sure we know what you know.
Right.
And if we don't know about it, you can tell us about it, and we will pass it on to everybody that needs to know.
And I will put it on my calendar to remind people.
And nobody reads your calendar.
Well, I realize, yes, I'm sure. Thankfully, no one reads my calendar, but I can add it to my calendar, and next month I will remember, just like to 25th. So I think that there's actually
Oh, yeah, you have an event because you have to speak.
Well, I have that tonight, but like Madison Lions Club is meeting today from 11 to 1 at Mama Hamill's. See, I know about those kind of meetings as well.
Madison Lions Club.
Madison Lions Club meets in Madison at Mama Hamill's from 11 to 1 today. It's every other Tuesday.
Hear me roar. Good morning, Russell McGuffey.
My grandfathers were Lions in Clinton, Mississippi.
I remember when the Lions Club, we had it in Canton, and they did a lot of good things, and we had the carnival every year, and you rode the little train.
Yeah. In Clinton, we had a Caterpillar and at the Lions Club Park in Clinton, right behind First Baptist Church.
Did it turn into a butterfly and run away?
No, it was a caterpillar that you climbed on, and I'm afraid of heights, so I never climbed on the caterpillar. But
you mean the truck?
No, it's a caterpillar. It's like a climbing toy for children, but it's a great big You've never seen the caterpillar at Clinton Lions Club Park? It's on top of the park under the bridge now.
Okay.
But it was a caterpillar, and it was a climbing. So it had a head that you climbed on, and then legs, and then you could crawl up the back and down.
I wonder what that would cost these days. Because, a splash pad's $1 million every time they get a splash pad.
Yeah, I have no idea. That's back in the days when my grandfather, Papa Ed, took care of everything at Clinton Lions Club Park.
Okay, so what are we doing today? What are we going to do?
What are we doing tonight? I've got to be at Jackson State University. They finally got me.
JSU!
They finally got me to land and commit.
And you're doing a political speaking thing.
I have no idea what it is. I got a text last night saying we have been trying to reach you and send us a picture and we'll send you details. So I should have email details this morning. It's
an event, a political event.
It's actually I have a graphic, so I'll pull it up.
You'll have a graphic.
But it's a candidate forum for all of the city council candidates. As
City
best as I
council
can
and
tell.
y'all leaving all the mayors
Mhm.
out this time.
I don't know. It says meet the candidates 2025 city council race.
There you go.
Jackson State College of Liberal Arts Auditorium 266 from 6:30 to 8:30. And there will be a live stream link at Facebook.
And there was one last night in Gluckstadt. I saw that where they had to meet the candidates and everybody came out.
I think that was Madison Republican women even.
Madison Republican Party and the Madison Republican Party.
Yep.
The executive committee through that.
Yep. Okay.
And Corrine did a great job on that.
Did you go?
No.
No. Oh,
I'm not Gluckstadt.
That's right.
I'm not.
That's right.
I'm not Gluckenstad.
Well, but that's kind of like your nearby neighbor.
Yeah,
it's like your backyard.
Yeah, it is.
Used to be considered Canton.
Well, Canton is right across the street from Germantown already.
Exactly.
I mean, that grocery store and your pie is in Canton.
Yep.
So
I had a house in Ridgeland, and Bill Hetrick sold it for me, and he said to me, and this was in 2014, and he said to me, in 10 years, everybody will be living in Canton. It all keeps just going north. It used to be Madison. Now it's Gluckstadt. In 10 years, it'll be back out to Canton.
Until you get the school system situated in Canton, it won't be Canton.
Well, I don't think Bill Hetrick foresaw those kind of problems.
I will
15
fix it.
years ago.
I will fix it.
Yes, you will, Chip.
Yes, I will.
Chip has a plan.
When I become mayor,
very well thought out.
And that's something I will talk about on the other side of the break. What do you see as the needs for your district or the whole city of Jackson in a plan to replenish the economic development to where you have a tax base that is not solely dependent on the people that still live there in the houses?
Okay,
because that's what's been going on in Canton. That's why they raised the taxes 9 mills. But anyway, we'll figure that out. We'll be back right here with Taylor Turcotte. I'm Chip Matthews on WYAB.
I don't like that music. And see, I think
Their sound is just that we're on break. Yeah, bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum. Mama told me not to come.
Gosh.
Okay.
You-
But anyway,
We need better music.
but that's a great song.
I know, but I don't know. We need.
Grassroots in my midnight confession.
I'm not identifying with many of the songs that y'all have here.
Well,
Firewoman, of course, because that's the
Firewoman.
cult, and
Yeah, well, I mean, you know.
that's
But anyway,
an 80s.
so what I did was
Yep.
I picked up a newspaper,
Right.
and you'll understand this one.
Will I?
Saturday, April 26th in Pearl,
Yep.
Pearl Day
Uh-huh.
at Trustmark Park.
Uh-huh.
And the band playing Brett Michaels at 8:45.
Oh no.
I'm sure Clay will just start foaming at the mouth over this soon.
Why?
And then opening Warrant.
Ugh.
Heaven is
No.
not too
See,
far away.
Clay, are you on your way in? Y'all want to bring y'all are big music people? Bring Winger in. There was a TikTok
Winger.
last night with Kip Winger, and I'm sure that man is still beautiful. You want to attract a bunch of Gen X women to a show? You bring Kip Winger and Winger.
Kip Winger
in.
played out at Bonnie Blair's.
I don't care. That man is so.
Have you seen him lately?
Sexy.
You need to pull it up.
Considering what he looked like back then, I bet he's still.
He needs to wear a hat.
He needs to wear a hat. Why is he bald, or he's got a head full of hair?
Well, anyway.
It doesn't matter. He had the smile for it back then. I'm sure he has aged well.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay. Good morning, Robert Staples. Good morning, Sylvia. Good morning, Anita.
Good morning.
And good morning, Debbie. So we were going to talk about what your economic plan for Jackson is. I mean, the whole thing here about people running for office, I want everybody to realize this and think about this. If you can't, many people can go in there and say, okay, pay this bill, pay that bill, let's cut this grass, let's do that.
Well,
now, of course, that's not been getting done, but
right.
But what needs to happen is you need to bring back economic development to your area.
Exactly. And I'm kind of in a weird area because in my ward, I'm not just a neighborhood. I've got all of the capital city. So I've got all of downtown. I've got south of downtown to Gallatin Street, and all that is pretty much just kind of dead, burnt out downtown area.
Right.
Until you get to kind of the neighborhoods on the other side. So I kind of have been looking at this from two different standpoints as far as, I don't have as many people because I don't have as much rooftop. It's all the downtown area. But we need to bring New Orleans families back to Jackson. A couple of weeks ago, I was in downtown Jackson, and there was a developer from New Orleans that was in, and they were walking from basically the buildings that they have bought down by Capitol Street down to the Mayflower for lunch. And they're New Orleans investors. They're investing. They bought buildings, and they're talking about how they love Jackson. And I've lived a lot between Jackson and New Orleans. New Orleans was in my territory for Dyson. And people from New Orleans love Jackson. People from New Orleans live in a tourist town. So what we need to do is we need to make Jackson more weekend friendly, a staycation venue for people out of New Orleans and even possibly out of Memphis as well. They have their own French Quarter downtown area where they are invaded by tourists.
Okay.
So let's make ourselves a venue for the people who live in Old Metairie and in the Garden District.
Well, so if we really look at this from the standpoint of what you're looking at, let's just look at this. So we're going to make Jackson like New Orleans.
No, we're going to make Jackson where the people who live in the Garden District, who lived in Old Metairie, who live in Metairie, the middle class New Orleans want to come to downtown Jackson to get their weekend getaway.
So
if we bring
if you come to downtown Jackson,
yes,
you get gunfire just like you do in New Orleans.
Well, that's crime. So that's
and I saw
a problem that I've got to deal with as well. And I
saw online where Chokeway is blaming Capitol Police for the shootings this past weekend.
all of the problems with crime in Jackson lay specifically in Chokwe Lumumba's lap. I don't care what anybody says.
That's correct.
He is in control of the police officers. Since we had the incident down in South Jackson with the police officer that got caught with his hands around the neck of a young black guy, the children in Jackson run wild because every police officer knows that in every kid's pocket is a camera on a cell phone, and they will whip it out and start filming them. And therefore, these cops are not going to go any farther than they really have to.
And then we also
because the mayor will not back them up. If you look up what happened to that cop back in the, I'm going to say it, days of George Floyd, because it happened right after George Floyd happened, Lumumba threw that cop under the bus. And basically, that cop was only disciplining. He was not choking a kid. He was telling a kid, I told you to get home. You better get your butt to the house.
Whatever happened to the policeman that ran over the person who was when he was off duty in a police car and ran over somebody on I-55 South? Whatever happened to that?
I don't know.
That kind of disappeared too.
Well, that disappears as well, but that doesn't have really an effect on crime. What I'm talking about is these children know that if they hit the streets, the cops are not really going to go any farther than they have to. And the parents can't control. So we have got, if we want to handle crime in Jackson, we have got to get the parents, the police, the churches, and the schools involved around these children. But the problem is that the parents can't control the kids at home. The cops can't control the kids on the street.
And so you put them in jail.
And so our kids, well, but
you got to put them in jail.
No,
they're walking around with the cameras. You're talking about a camera. They're walking around with a gun.
We can't arrest our way out of this.
Yes, you can.
No, we can't. Well, we can.
Let
to
me
a
ask you
certain
this.
Extent, let me say this. Hold on. Last summer, Chief Wade raised $1,000 for a summer camp for kids.
Right.
We have got to find. We can't talk about. We don't need jail for these kids. We need some sort of camp, school, teen jail. We're going to have to figure out a way how to deal with these kids to get them back on the right track. Jail is not it.
Well, let me ask you this. If you went to Rankin County,
yep,
because they're so firm.
Yep. I'm not.
Okay. Firm
is what
has kept everybody in control.
Right.
And every once in a while, you'll get a straggler from Jackson who thinks that I can go to, they ain't going to do it to me.
Yeah. Just because I said that we can't arrest our way out of it doesn't mean that it's not going to start with being arrested. But what I'm saying is we can't take these young kids, these young teens that have got problems and drop them in a jail and expect to solve it. We've got to come up with some creative ways. And considering that Chief Wade is already trying to get involved with the youth in Jackson with the camps that he did over the summer, Chokwe spent a ton of money on electric buses for Jackson's school system, and Chief Wade could only raise $1,500 for his camp for kids.
Well, the buses was part of a grant from Biden, and you know that. And it's insane. And there's no charging stations for them anyway.
No, but it shows it shows to me that from Chokwe showed me where Chief Wade's heart was.
Well,
so we've got to find a way to get these kids into some sort of like detention camp with the police instead of at school. We've got to get creative. But
detention camp would be the same as being arrested.
Well, I said it's going to start with being arrested.
But, I mean,
it's
until you get to
jail, we've got to
get to firm
guidance.
Firm.
I'm talking about
and then
firm.
And then you go. It's like what we were discussing yesterday. I said my plan in Canton.
Believe me, it's going to have to be firm.
Would be to arrest them. Look at it this way. Let me give you this scenario. You talk about them being kids, and they're 14-year-olds, right?
Yeah, they are.
And you're like, that's just awful to have to raise kids. That 14-year-old may already have a baby.
He may already, exactly. They're already off on the wrong foot. We've got to get them out of the criminal lifestyle.
So the kid is 14 and and then his mama's 28.
Exactly.
And then the grandmama is 12 years older than that.
Exactly.
I mean, y'all.
It's a generational.
We've got to change the culture.
We do.
The culture is the problem.
We do.
And the only way you're going to change the culture is to come strong at it.
The only way that we change the culture is by changing the culture in the youngest generation. And that is these kids that we're talking about that are on the street causing all this crime. If they got to address that first and foremost.
Let's say they walk out and you see these former gang members, okay, who have now turned over a new leaf, but they still dress in gang wear.
Okay. I
Okay.
don't care what they wear.
Well, you need to care because see, the culture of what you're looking at does not change. You got to change the environment. And so as long as you keep seeing blight and thugs, and I mean they're not thugs, but they still talk thug. They come up thug. They're all sweatshirts and this, that, and the other, and they still
Okay.
stay out with a 40 on the weekends and drink in front of the clubs. You know, it like
Are
in,
they are they
you would
are they
never
encouraging the children to
you
commit crimes,
let's
or
put
are
it
they
this way.
encouraging them to
Let's
stay
put
in
it this way.
school
We
and
can
trying to help
ride
feed
through
'em?
North Jackson and there are not people sitting on the stoop
No.
drinking beer in the front yard.
Well, because but that's not culture. They're sitting on their back porch with a beer drinking, with a
Right.
can in their hand. So
Right.
that I don't care about that. What I care about is kids whose parents can't control them in their house. So they go out, the kids walk out the door. The cops can't do anything about them out the door. We've got to get cops and parents on the same side against these children.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We got calls coming in. We'll
Not
get to
against
those calls
children,
in just a second, but we'll be back with more right here on the Chip Matthews Show with Taylor Turcotte on WYAB, and we're filling in for good old Matt. Yeah. Okay, we're here. We're live. We're Chip Matthews and Taylor Turcotte here on WYAB on a beautiful dark morning. I did see the sun. I mean,
The
that's not the
moon.
that's the moon.
The moon you
Yeah.
can see
It's now we
an
see
eclipse.
yeah,
I think
it's either eclipse or it's
we're
Elon's
still in the eclipse.
Elon's coming in front of it with one of his
Satellites.
satellites.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
so.
No, we're still in eclipse because we're in the spring
Okay.
solstice.
Okay, let's go to the phone and see what's going on. Good morning, Sylvia.
Good morning. How are you all doing?
Doing all right. Talk to me.
Good. Good. I just had a couple things to say. The first thing I wanted to say is we don't need any more programs. I know, Taylor, you mean well, but programs are not working. I feel that if you break the law, you go to jail. Bottom line. That's it. It follows along the principle, why I say this, of Proverbs 13:24. Those who spare the rod of discipline hate their children. Those who love their children care enough to discipline them. Now,
I agree.
as a whole, if you cannot live in a civilized society as a civilized, law-abiding citizen, you are going to have to be confined and controlled. And the only setting that we have for these folks who act like they've lost their mind, like the ones at the parade this past weekend, is jail, period. Now, Chief Wade and his men and women in blue, they need more support.
Yes.
Financially, and they need more people so they can police the city well.
Yes.
What
jail?
Mayor?
What jail are we going to put these kids in?
We don't have one that'll hold anybody.
Exactly.
But we got to build them.
But we can.
And
I
think
y'all are. We can build one.
Exactly. And see, I think you're misunderstanding me.
Tax dollars to come back to the city. That city needs to be policed well, so people feel safe there, so that businesses are not concerned about somebody breaking into their place of business and taking the things that they have in their stores.
I agree.
The city has to be policed well.
I agree.
Chief Wade and his men and women are doing the best they can, and they're doing a good job as far as I'm concerned. However, they need the financial support, and they need more people. And that mayor that's over there right now in Jackson, he needs to be sent packing. And what's probably going to happen is that he's going to be reelected again. However, I hope the federal charges that are against him he's proven guilty and his happy self is in prison.
Why do you think that Chokwe is going to be
other individual that was involved?
Why do you think Chokwe is going to be elected again?
Because that community of people, their mindset is ghetto, hood, rats. I'm not going to apologize for that. It's that black thing chip on your shoulder that you feel that because the color of your skin gives you the right to be able to say along the lines that you're only doing this to me because I'm black. No, many things happen to you because you've made poor choices and you are not acting like a civilized, law-abiding citizen.
And it's just like
sometimes
it's just like what you're saying.
And sometimes it is you as an individual, has nothing to do with your pigmentation.
And I agree with that.
I'm tired of that race card being played.
Yes, and what people do not realize is you vote for the person. You don't vote color, and you don't vote party.
Yeah,
and that's what the problem is.
No, you don't vote party. You vote. I could never vote be a Democrat. I've been voting since I was 18, and it's been a long time. My first election was Ronald Reagan. The reason why I cannot be a Democrat and never vote for one, I don't promote abortion. 2, this homosexuality is against the word of God. So is abortion, because that's murder. And 3, this transgender mess.
Right.
I cannot deal with that. I could never deal with that. And I was not raised with the mindset that because your pigmentation is dark, you're going to be treated poorly. That was never in my home.
Thank
you
for calling. Thank
All
you.
right, bye.
Bye-bye.
And I'd like to make a point. These people that I'm talking about are not the people that were fighting in front of the government. I'm talking about young children. I'm talking about kids that are under the age of 18.
You
are the
do
ones
not
that I'm talking
understand
about.
that. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about 14-year-olds.
Well, and
They can't even drive and they're stealing cars.
so
We filed a lawsuit in Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson, Mississippi filed a lawsuit against Kia and Hyundai
and so y'all think,
because it's easy to steal their cars.
so y'all think that it's going to taking a 14-year-old and slapping them in jail with a bunch of adults is going to handle the problem in Jackson?
Yes.
No, it's not. We have got to re-raise these children, because what I'm trying to explain to y'all is that the cops used to work as disciplinarians on the street until that incident happened. They used to be disciplinarians because if you listen to that cop, he was telling the kid, I told you to get home. We've lost the cops as disciplinarians.
No.
The cops are going to have to take back control of that on the streets as disciplinarians of
that
these
is
kids.
Parents. And the only way you're going to get parents and kids together is to put them both in jail until the parents will raise their children. That's it.
Possibly.
The cops, the only thing the cops can do is show up and mediate. And mediated is not getting it because when they show up on the scenes, these kids have guns.
So so why are we not talking about juvenile facilities in
They
Jackson?
are trying to build one, but they had one for years and it was a problem. And the problem is Benny Thompson and those supervisors in Jackson.
Exactly.
And then the great John Horn that everybody wants him to come in. All of these people have not addressed the problem. You've got a city that is not fixed, which means you've got to go through extreme measures in order to fix that city.
Exactly.
Period.
And that to me is giving Chief Wade, because I know from his past actions last summer that he is interested in rescuing these teens and getting them back on the right road. I want him empowered to figure out how we need to discipline the parents and the children of these teens that are running crazy in our city.
Well,
that is the starting point.
And I mean, I may be wrong on this. I look at Chief Wade a little different than everybody else because I look at Chief Wade as a person who has been put out the propaganda to help the mayor. Because he works for the mayor.
Okay, maybe
he's hired by the mayor. And so his job is to say the right thing all the time. And I mean, there's nothing you can say. And then he should have come out yesterday when Chokeway blamed the Capitol Police. He should have come out and said it was not a Capitol Police problem. But Chokeway's trying to say that because the Capitol District is run by the Capitol Police now.
Right.
And he's trying to say if JPD had been there, we could have blah, blah, blah. That's not the way it is.
No, it's not.
You know,
thank God for Capitol Police.
And these people that are running things
would say that.
The people that are running things just suck. And
they are. And that's why I'm saying
and what Sylvia's,
we've got to
and what Sylvia's telling you,
I realize that,
is they're all going to get reelected. I'm from Canton, Mississippi. I've been running for office for a while. I know what's going to happen. You have run for office. We've watched Benny Thompson go into office a ton of times.
Right.
John Horn went into office. As long as he wanted to keep running for that Senate seat, he'd still get elected.
20,000 people showed up for the last municipal election. If we don't want that to happen, then everybody needs to show up. Everybody needs to vote in the city of Jackson. We've got 150,000 people. Get out and vote for anybody but John Horn and Chokeway, because they are the two politicians that are in the race right now. Anybody else?
Career politicians have to be gone. But I mean, that's exactly what it is. And it's a tough talk. And it's hard to say this thing to people, but the reality is you got to be tough. I mean,
I'm not saying that we're going to have to be tough, because at some point it is going to go sideways between a teen and a police officer, and it's going to get it. We know it's coming.
It's already gone.
And the problem is, but right now the cops aren't going to get out there and do anything, because when it does go sideways, the mayor is going to throw them under the bus. If we get new leadership in the mayoral in Jackson, someone who understands law enforcement and will give these cops teeth back on the street, and those cops go out there and they know, we're dealing with a bunch of kids who have had a lot of problems, who've been running wild for a long time. We've got to take control. It's going to go sideways, but when it does, we're all going to do our best, and the mayor's going to stand behind us.
But let's remember this. Who runs the city?
Right now?
No, who runs the city?
The mayor should be running the city.
Okay, so the mayor runs the city, and then the city councilmen are doing what?
Making the rules, being the in-between person between the community.
When this guy steps out of line,
The mayor.
Why aren't the city council fixing the problem?
Because they're just as dirty as he is.
Okay.
We've got to get new leadership all the way. Well, not all the way around.
Okay.
We've got two, in my opinion, that are Ashby and
Let's take this phone call. Good morning. You're on the air. You're on
Kenny
the air.
Stokes. Oh,
Hello.
Good morning. So
Yes.
there's actually an in-between. So I had the joy of working in Detroit for a little while. And yes, they started off incredibly hard. They put in a curfew. Any juvenile out past 9 o'clock was immediately picked up and was not released until their parents came up. But
There we
after
go.
they reined it in, they initiated things for children to do. They started having juvenile hangouts. They started having mentorship programs.
Thank you.
And Detroit has lowered their problem. Detroit has become one of the safer cities after enacting harsh punishments on the front side, but came back in and softened as they went to bring the children back in the fold, right?
Right.
No one wants to give up on children. We love children. They're our future. Unfortunately, to course correct, you have to have a hard hand in the beginning and lighten up as you go.
Yep.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
We agree.
But Jackson PD can't start with a hard hand because they know as soon as it goes
It's
sideways.
not Jackson PD as much as it is the judges in Jackson.
Well,
It's everything.
I
And
meant
you've got to make them
I'm
scared to
talking
do
about the officer on the street.
it. Are you still there? Caller.
Yes, sir.
So what were you in Detroit doing?
I was up there representing the enlisted association. So I was up there for an association meeting. I got to hang out with local law enforcement, being a former sheriff's deputy myself.
Because I went up there to watch Kiss in concert when they put the makeup back on, and I got to walking around in downtown Detroit, and I got pulled over by a cop saw me walking in downtown Detroit because I was trying to walk from the Cobo Hall to Tiger Stadium.
Yes, sir.
And as I was walking, the cop pulled up to me and he says, "Are you the craziest white man in the world?" I just said, he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Mississippi." He goes, "You must be crazy walking these streets." Because it was that dangerous.
And Jackson has, is following the Detroit plan from Showquay. So thank you for letting me know that they have got plans up there that I don't have to reinvent. We can just go dig and see what they're doing up there and what works.
Well, there was a lot
up there already.
I'll tell you about something else in Detroit, but we got to take a commercial break. Caller, thank you for calling in.
Thank you for calling, getting in touch with me on Facebook
You have a blessed
so I
day.
can get
You
info.
too. I'm going to tell you something about Detroit when I get back. Let's do this commercial break, and we'll be back right here on WYAB.
I did.
Dut, 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 dut. And we're back here on WYAB. I'm Chip Matthews along with Taylor Turcotte. And of course, we're fighting. We're
Well,
fighting.
We're not
We're
fighting.
fighting.
We're disagreeing.
Okay, well, here's the deal. That guy
As
brought
most
up,
people disagree with me on everything that I think about Jackson anyway.
and I
They've been
understand
telling me for years,
Okay,
Jackson, you
well, let
can't
me
save
tell you
Jackson.
that he's talking about Detroit and some of the stuff that went on in Detroit.
Mhm.
This is one of the things that I've been telling people about for the last, 8 years, because that's when I know that it happened in Detroit.
Yeah.
What Detroit did was they took an area of Detroit that was decrepit, falling apart,
Mhm.
and they made it green space. The federal government gave them money to make that a green space.
Right.
Then it was no building in there for 20 years. Okay. Now, while they had it, you already had it plumbed and everything else. So all you had to do was redesign it,
Right.
get it ready for in 20 years, you rebuild back into it. Meanwhile, you make the footprint of the city smaller
Right.
so you can fix the part of the city you can fix.
Okay.
And then you work on the tax base there, and you're taking this off the books
Mm-hmm.
because the land's there and you own it. The city owns it then.
Right.
Because you buy it with the federal government's money. These people are not stuck with just abandoning their houses. They leave their houses
Right.
and they get a tax credit or whatever on their taxes for leaving. And it's worked out differently than turning around and saying you owe taxes forever and we're taking your property.
Right.
So you pull it back and you make it smaller area and then you build back into it. And I mean, it's something that needs to happen. I don't know what you do about the areas that you can't take back, but I mean, South Jackson is one that's got to.
Well, I mean, it would be a completely different look if everything was just cleared and bare ground, even.
Right.
So I know that Vernon Hartley was trying to. The Secretary of State can come in and clear out, has money to come in and clear out. I think that a lot of problems in Jackson are just because the college professors that Chokwe hired to work in the administration didn't know what they were doing. I'm not even going to say they were corrupt. They don't know what they're doing because they're bureaucrats. Everything's gone to crap. And nobody is literally just reaching out for what can be.
But when we
the Secretary of State can come in and clean up a lot of these properties.
But when we talk about
probably would if asked.
Well, Secretary of State, I don't know what they will do.
Wow.
They won't do anything.
Asked,
they don't have any power in election laws.
Wow.
But anyway.
But
my question to you is
this.
Okay, here's the deal. What you're talking about is another problem where you're asking all the taxpayers of Mississippi to pick up the bill for Jackson.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll realize that and we need to figure out another way to do it.
And that's getting old. I mean,
agreed.
I mean, there comes a time that you can go and get people in the community to sponsor this block or that block. I mean,
agreed.
They get people to pay for schools all the time that they're going to sponsor those schools, and some of those schools are even closed now.
Agreed. But also remember that as Jackson is your capital city, we're carrying a whole lot of dead space downtown.
And
for the capital city, and the politicians have only kept the dead people around. Everybody else has left, has flown the coop of Jackson and gone to the suburbs.
Did we get all our commercial breaks in?
I don't know, Chip. You run that side.
I mean, I am lost.
Yeah, I got you all fired up.
Oh yeah. Well, I think we did, but anyway.
Okay.
If we didn't, it'll kick us off the air.
Wow.
But anyway, remind everybody that the Clay Edwards Show is coming up at 7 o'clock.
Next.
With his starness.
Yes.
Clay Edwards. Great show.
He does do a good show.
Then, of course, at 9 o'clock, we'll be back on the air with the Chip Matthews Show with Taylor Turcotte. And then at 10 o'clock, it's Jameson Haygood with all of his goodness.
And then Good Fight. And
then 4 o'clock this afternoon, the future mayor of Jackson, Kim Wade.
Yep.
So, and I hope that that's the way it goes down. Let's see if I can read.
Yep.
Oh, well.
Yep. Y'all really want to put me in a hot spot? Put David Archie on the Democratic bill and Kim Wade in the Independent, and you'll really put me in a hot seat deciding between the two of them. May just make them work together.
I mean, What is the purpose? What is the purpose?
What is the purpose of?
Everything.
To do the next right thing is what everybody's part. Every day, people should get up and just try to do the next right thing. That's the way you get on the right track, is just do, and don't think any further than that.
I
Just
mean,
the next right thing, and smile at the next person you see.
okay. But I mean, the reality is America is a great place. Mississippi is an even better place inside America. Why do we continue to let people like Benny Thompson and Rhino Republicans that are in office at the downtown
Mm-hmm.
continue to ruin our state?
I don't know.
And
Good question.
and that's exactly what they're doing. They ruin our state.
That's a good question.
You know, somebody said something to me. They said, that was funny, Chip, yesterday when you brought up we bring in Canada or we bring in Greenland and we're going to have to add stars to the flag. And you made a comment that if it was in Mississippi, they'd just change the whole flag.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh, 70. Yeah, I need to remind me to send you something I got on that.
Well, okay.
But yes. And Jackson could be a beautiful place if everybody will just show up and vote for anybody.
And the big issue right now, what is the big issue right now that they're talking in the news about? Do you realize whether or not to take care of local pharmacists versus the big box and the online chains and this, that, and the other? And the money is flying. The money is going out. But I mean, you got to take care of the local guy. You got to take care of the local pharmacists.
Yes, you do have to take care of the
small
locals.
pharmacists. I mean, you know, and all this is way above our pay grade, but the money is there, and they are being paid by lobbyists to do the duty. And
Pharmaceuticals.
Y'all work on the ballot initiative. Work on something else. Take care of your local people. The big box store, you know, some of these towns, Canton doesn't have a big box pharmaceutical store. And I'm glad we don't.
Right. You got Mississippi Discount Drugs. And
we got Mississippi Discount Drug, Canton Business, and we also got Mosby's Drugs, and we
used to
got
have
Canton Discount Drugs.
Mississippi Discount Drugs used to be in Clinton as well. Are they still over there?
They had 3 locations, 3 or 4 locations.
Do they still have 3 or 4, or are they?
But that's that.
Yeah.
But
Yes, we do need small business. Think local, buy local, keep your money local.
Okay.
I agree with all that.
So that's going to do us for this morning. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. We'll also be back today at 9 o'clock on the Chip Matthews Show with Taylor Turcotte. You've got an event tonight. Y'all please go to the event.
Jackson State. What
time?
It's 6:30 to 8:30 in the Jackson State College of Liberal Arts Auditorium, room 266.
Okay. We're Chip and Taylor, and we'll see you at 9 o'clock right here. Clay's next on WYAB.